Hello, Chris. Welcome to your first Ableton tutorial with me, Tim Thompson. Let's get straight to it. I've got a brand new project here opened in Ableton Live, and you'll see right now that I am in what is called um, landscape view, timeline view. I think they call it timeline view. And you can see that my tracks would be going vertically here. I have one track on there so far. When you open Ableton, you'll probably have a bunch of demo content. You could just go ahead and delete all of that. You won't be needing any of it. Um, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you around the application just a little bit very quickly. So on the left-hand side, this little hamburger icon, this is showing that we're looking at it in timeline view. One of the cool things about Ableton that's quite different than other DAWs is that it has something called session view. And when you click this little button below with the tracks going vertically, it now flips it so that we have our tracks going vertically, and they would all go horizontally then like that. And you're looking at it more like a mixing board where you can change your channel settings and everything like that really easily and quickly here. It also allows for some really cool ways of looping audio. So you can actually put an audio file in this little box here and hit play and stop and stuff like that. So that's more of like a DJ application, or how I like to produce music, where I sort of make loops and then I'm building off of loops. So that's what this view is primarily used for, but it's also handy for viewing it like a mixing board. Okay, you'll most likely be using this landscape timeline view, and in this view, this is time, right? So if you have a track playing, play and pause is always the space bar on your computer. So you hit the space bar and you can see now time is going on. There's no audio or anything playing, so there's no sound. But down here along the bottom, you can see these are the seconds that it's going through, and on the top, these are your beats. So if I change my time signature, you can also see how that's going to affect those up there. Next thing, this little button, that's your metronome. Turn that on. You get a metronome, you get a click. I'm not sure if you can hear it. You may or may not be able to hear it because of how I'm recording this video, but it is making a tick, tock, tock, tock that's going along with it. That is not baked into your track. It's just simply playing when you play and pause, and then you can turn it off at any time. This gives you a time for how far you count in when you first hit record. It'll count you in like a 4-bar, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start recording actually. So that's a very handy little feature to turn on. And then when you have your metronome on, you go and hit record, it's gonna boom, and now it's actually starting to record. So it gives you that little count in. While we're there, this is the record button, the stop button, and the play button right up there at the top. This is where you are in the track, and it's based off of the actual bars of the track. So you're at the 10th bar so far. It's not going to give you the timeline on there up in this section. The other things that you're going to want to know, let's show you around a bit of the rest of the app. Down at first actually, let's show you how you would set up your new set when you get in here. So what you're going to want to do is you come in, and you've got one audio track, and you're going to want to have one audio track for each one of the microphones that you have connected to your drum kit. So easy way to do that is pressing Command and T on your keyboard. It'll probably be Control T for you on Windows, and you do that, and boom, it just makes a new audio track, new audio track. If you don't want to use a shortcut, you can just right click there and go Insert Audio Track. Either way, doesn't matter. So we're going to do that until we've got 7 tracks. And then what you'll want to do is plug in your Focus Scarlet, right? That should already be plugged in and running actually when you've opened this. And go into Ableton settings. So we can go to Live, and then Settings right here. There's also a shortcut for that, which I use a lot, which is Command and then the comma, probably Control comma for you. And what we want to do first is inside Preferences, we're going to go to Audio, and we're going to select our input device, and we're going to set that to the Scarlet. And then once you've done that, we get some other features. The output device, you'll probably also want to set that to the Scarlet, unless you're playing the audio out of some connection on your computer. Like if you wanted to plug your headphones into your computer instead of the Scarlet, you would be able to listen to them out from there instead. So, you know, sometimes I like to listen to wireless headphones, which might be a good option for you if you wanted to get some wireless headphones. Um, Channel configuration. So this is the only other step that you're really going to have to look at. And what a good thing to do would be to check the manual on your Focusrite. It'll tell you what each of the inputs are numbered on there, but I imagine that they're going to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of those 8 across the front are going to be just channels 1 through 8. I would be very surprised if it was done any other way. But essentially what you're going to do is then set these up. You're going to have to turn on in my case, they're set a little bit differently. They're 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. You're going to want to have on at least all up to 8 that you have turned on. Then once you've done that, you're going to want to go through each one of these tracks and assign that channel to that track. I think you still have to do this step. Maybe they've figured something out and it just automatically lines it up, but here's how I've had to do it before. So you go from this view, go over to your session view again, and then go through each one of these. And this, oh yeah, so you see how this is set now to number 1. That's taking in input number 1 from my Scarlet Focusrite. I go over here, I set that to number 2. Go over here, set that to number 3. Go over here, set that to number 4. Go over here, set that to number 5. Here, set that to number 6. Here, set that to number 7. And then there you go. So now that should be bringing in the audio from each one of those different channels into each one of your different audio tracks that you have up here. The next step that I would usually do, and this might hit the limits of your software, but I would then select all of these tracks, and you can select one on the left and then hold shift and then highlight all of them to select them all quickly. You can also I think you can right click and do it. No, that's really the only way to do it. So use your keyboard shortcut just to select all like you would in any other software. And right click and go group tracks. You can also do this with Command Control G. You can do that there. And then when you group the tracks, what this allows us to do is then we can put effects that would apply to all of the tracks that are within there. So this is very useful when you want to apply a generalized effect or plugin or something like that that's going to cover all of your different mics. We're going to undo that for now because we won't necessarily need that at this point. The next area that I want to show you is when you click on one of these tracks, this bottom area down here, you might be wondering what this section is. This is where all of your effects go when you apply them to a track. So let me show you what I mean. On our left-hand side of Ableton, there's another little triangle. When you click it and it opens up, this is your browser. This is where you can browse for instruments, for effects, for samples, all of that kind of great stuff. It's where you can create collections of your favorite effects and racks and all of those kinds of things. So let's drill into this a little bit and I'll explain it a bit more. Before I do though, I want to show you one other thing that is really cool in Ableton that will help you learn this software much quicker. In the very bottom left-hand corner of the application, you'll see that there is this little triangle just down there. Might be hard to see, but it's just right there. If you click that, it opens up this special little window. And this might already be opened for you when you first launched the app. What this little window over here does is wherever you hover over something in Ableton, it will show you in a written little tutorial of what that thing does. So for example, if I hover over this button right here, this little 1 button, what does that do? You can see now in the bottom left-hand corner, it says Track Activator. Activate this button to hear the track or deactivate it to mute the track. Set the destination for the track signal. Use the output type and output channel choosers available in the mixer's in-out section. Okay, great. So now that tells you exactly what that button does. What about this S that's just below it? Oh, the solo cue. So that's if I want to solo the track and I want to just only hear that one track. What does that do? That's arm recording. So this is what you're going to need to press to make sure that the track is actually recording when you hit this record button up there. So let's show you a little bit about what you would do. Once you've gotten all of these and you've got all your mics set up, next thing you do is you would arm all of these tracks, just like that. Then you would go and hit record, and you would start playing. And let's go back to the other view. Also, you can press tab on your computer to switch back and forth between these views very quickly. And so we can switch back over here, and you can see now it's recording audio to all 7 of these tracks. Nothing is coming through. It's just a flat line because there's no signals coming in. I don't have any mics or anything hooked up to it. But that's now all recording them all at the same time. And then if I were to go and hit stop, now it's stopped, and I have a finished recording with all of my samples all put together. These would all be recordings from all of your different drums. And as I think I mentioned before, it's going to be good to label all of these. So like hi-hat, snare, and whatever else, wherever else you have them positioned, just so that you can keep a good eye on that. And then what we can do is you've got these all together, and you can export it. After that, you could export your audio and video just like that. If you wanted to save that, then you can go over here. You're going to want to check your render start. That's the time, not the second time, but not seconds, but your time signature, like which bar you're on is right there. That's 9. It's saying so 9. And the render length is 15. So right now it's already just pre-selected the amount of time that I've made my recording for. You'd want to choose your file type. Usually just go for like a wave is probably what you're going to use, because I think they only give you wave and FLAC on your side, so wave's much smaller. And if you wanted to, you can also add an MP3. They don't like I guess you could just do MP3 too, but that's like super low quality. So if you're trying to do quality, you want to make sure that you're at least doing a wave one. And then you just hit export, and then it would go ahead and it would export its thing, and you'd give it a name, and away you go. So that's a pretty good part on how you could get up your recording fairly quickly. The next thing would be to get into like effects and all of that kind of stuff. So inside of, if we open up our little browser over here, the plugins area, when you buy and install stuff, like this is where all the things that you buy are going to go inside of this VST folder in your plugins. If you've got anything included with Ableton, it's going to be inside this audio effects folder. These are all the ones that I get included within the studio of Ableton, and there's all sorts of things in here, but I'll just show you very quickly. So one example, EQ. You're going to want to be EQing your tracks, and inside of like this drum setting, they've got all these ones. So let's just say I was EQing my snare, right? And we'll say that this is the snare. Let's rename that snare. So I got snare here. If I drag, let's just say this EQ for a snare over, and I drop it on that track, you'll notice now, boom, this is the EQ plugin. Well, it's not a plugin, it's just their effect that they have. And it shows up right down here in the bottom. If I were to click on a different track, you notice how it's gone. It's not there anymore. That's because it's showing me what the effects are on track number 3. If I were to click on number 2, it shows me what I would have on number 2, and so forth. So whenever you click on whichever track up there, that's when you're going to see all of the effects for that track. Now, the way that they work is it works from left to right. So if you put something on the left, and then you were to put, say, a different effect on after that to the right, the signal is going to go through this effect first, and then it's going to go through this effect, and then it's going to go out to your output. So very important to know the order of that, because depending on how you order things, that will change the filters of the signal and everything, right? So that is essentially how that you put an effect on. We could have whole courses on how to use EQ properly, and there are many of them that would be much better than what I could teach you. So I'm not going to really go into how these effects work, but that's essentially how you would do it. The other thing to notice is that inside of here, you can build what are called racks. So if I have 2 or 3 or 4 or 20 or 100 effects, I don't know about 100, but you could take them and you can group them essentially into what's called a rack. Now, why would you do this? Because you can set them all up with very specific settings, and then you can hit this save button, and you can save that as a custom audio effect rack. You know, uh, Tim's new snare rack effect. Boom. Now, the next time that I want to go and record something and I want to use that same rack, I could just take it, I could drag and drop it. Boom. I've got the exact same effect rack that I had before. Then you can also group these into your favorites. As you know, I've got something up here called like my favorites, and I've put a whole bunch of my favorite used racks that I've created before, like this, like my vocal rack, for example. Here's like a vocal rack that I have. And you can see, boom, now this is like loading up a bunch of plugins. I've got like, I think 12 different ones between the 4 of them on there that are all firing at once. So those all load all automatically, all with the same settings that I've already predefined within each one of these. And then they're all in the right order and everything. So that's just kind of how that works and why you would want to do that. Just to end this tutorial, because I think that that's a pretty good overview, and I can make you another one once you've got some questions or some things like that. But I think that this is going to be a pretty good starting place. The final thing I want to show you is once you've set up all of your 8 tracks or 7 tracks the way that you want them to be, and you've labeled them, you've numbered them, you've set up like all of the channels, like how I mentioned it. One thing that you're probably going to want to do is save this as your default set, so that the next time that you open Ableton, it's exactly like how you set it up for that time. It's a great time saver. So to do that, you're going to go live, you're going to go settings, and then you're going to go to, I think it's look and feel here. And library. File folder. Sorry, it's in here. File folder, and you go save current set as default. And then when you go save, it will then save it exactly like how you have it at that point in time, and it will relaunch. Whenever you relaunch Ableton, it will look just like that. And so that should be a great time saver for you. All right, Chris. Well, I hope that this was helpful and it demystified some of the massive amount of buttons and things that you can press on here, and keeps you very dialed into just what you will need to do. If you got any questions, feel free to shoot them back, and I'm happy to record you another short video answering them. Have a great day.